Check, check. Hello, hello.
Check. Hello. Thank you.
Check.
Yes, we are back at 1:30.
Okay.
Sorry if that cuts your lunch a little short.
No, I was just here waiting and I didn't see anybody.
Okay, let's make sure we turn on the video for, there we go. Perfect, thank you. And Ms. Hutchinson, are you here with us virtually? I don't know if that's a remnant of what's on her computer here. And there's Supervisor Scott.
I don't see Carol in. I found the admin office account logged in.
Well, I see Carol Hutchinson right here in front of us with the county seal.
Yeah, I'm the administrative office. This is Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hi.
And if everyone can just be patient with us, we'll get started briefly here. Just making sure we have all our team together.
I'm told I need to stop looking at you and looking at the camera more.
Okay.
Because I'll talk and I'll look over here like this.
Good luck with that. It's always uncomfortable to look straight at a camera. So I know that the next item that we would like to take up is regarding community development. I do not see our CAO here with us since it's regarding community development. Do we move forward? Do we hold for a few more minutes? Kind of trying to get the pulse of the board here.
I think we got enough board members,
Okay,
and we got county council.
that's what I was thinking myself. Is everybody okay with moving forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's reconvene. It is 1:35. Thank you for your patience. We are going to continue with item 7.2. A, consideration of first reading of amendment to commercial cannabis cultivation for those impacted by the Farmland Protection Zone, Chapter 21, Section 27.13 AT16. And B, consideration of updated direction for RFP regarding programmatic EIR. And so, Jake, if we can go ahead and share the screen and put up the quick PowerPoint presentation I put together, just so that we can see all the details. Make sure that everybody is updated on what's happening. So I'm going to provide you a quick run through of what is inside the ordinance. I have sat down with our county council. There's going to be some clarifications, but substance-wise, there is almost no change. There are a couple of date changes just to be more accurate on what it is that we're asking to do. But let me go through first what is within the ordinance that was proposed. So we're talking again about the properties and applicants that are being impacted by the creation of the Farmland Protection Zone, which was finalized and created on December 15th, 2020. The purpose for creating the Farmland Protection Zone was to help clarify what was written previously in a single paragraph that said that you're not eligible to grow cannabis, cultivate cannabis within a farmland designation, meaning prime farmland, farmland local and statewide importance, and unique farmland, unless you are isolated and not part of a larger network. Those terms left it somewhat up for interpretation as to what that meant, and we ended up with some concerns that we wanted to rectify, hence the creation of the Farmland Protection Zone. So now some people who were being led towards a use permit, some people are almost done with their obtaining their use permit, some people are still at the beginning stages of getting their use permit. We wanted to provide some sort of transition to help people meet the new guidelines that are set by the new Farmland Protection Zone. So here is what is inside the ordinance, that we would provide a 3-year transition expiring on April 21st, 2024. You must have application deemed complete as of December 15th, 2020. Must be in good standing, which means no violations with state and local laws and all taxes paid. And then if we can go to the next page, please, Jake. And so within the transition, again, if you're eligible, you would be able to get an early activation within the FPZ during that transition for outdoor cultivation, and you must follow the latest revisions to early activations. For example, no changes to previous early activation permit, and we've gone through some resolutions in the past. We're not rehashing those things, but basically early activation is early activation. If you are looking to get a use permit, you would be eligible for a use permit within the FPZ only during the transition for outdoor cultivation, and that within the condition of approval, it would state an expiration date for when the transition period is complete. And if you do not transition to the new compliance based on the Farmland Protection Zone language, your permit would be revoked by that specific date, which right now we're saying is April 20th, 2024. Also, applications must be revised by April 20th, 2022 to show good faith efforts that you are aiming towards compliance. Because we don't want to receive a transition update of your application or a revised update to your application 2 years and 11 months, there's no way we're going to be able to get you that license. We want to make sure that there's a good faith effort from the applicant. Or else, if by April 20th, 2022, you do not have that revision to your application, your permit will be revoked. And then final one would be, in order to have an enhanced protection to those eligible to cultivate cannabis outdoors within the Farmland Protection Zone during this transition period, we are looking to require hoop houses to at least offer some level of protection between the interfacing between traditional ag and cannabis cultivation. And so that is the basic concepts of what is, or the basic substance of what is within the ordinance. Now I do want to provide you, and Jake, if you can load up that Word document I sent you, with some of the clarifications. I will alarm you right now, and it's not to alarm, there is a lot of red on this, but it's really not substance changes. I appreciate County Council for making some of the changes that are necessary. But again, the majority of the substance is not changed. It is just clarification in language. And I wanted to make sure and provide this to you so we can have a conversation both between ourselves and with the public based on what's being offered.
Okay, I'm trying to continue the screen share here. It seems to be paused.
Yeah, sometimes you have to choose the program, so you have to shut down the share screen and reopen it.
Right, I think that's got it.
Perfect. And so basically, there's going to be some changes to the, actually, if you can show, I don't know if you have that, but if you can show the markings to the, it looks like it's not a full-blown, it's under read-only. Maybe that's where you need to not make it read-only. Go to review. And then on the show markup, or maybe you have to click on the red stuff on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm not sure. There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. So again, just the title has been changed to be more specific to what it is that we are doing. We got rid and added some whereas. Unfortunately, some of this was created as a under the template of a resolution, so we need to just fix that. That's why the now therefore be it resolved. It's not a resolution, so that's all gone. But the main substance, there's no change. If we can go scroll down, the beginning of the Lake County farmland protection stuff on item 6.1, nothing changes until we get to section D, which is the transition that we are offering to discuss. And so we changed it to applicants shall be allowed a transition period of up to 3 years or no later than May 21st, 2024, because this ordinance would not be approved until May 20th because of the 30-day wait that occurs after the approval. So we're not going to start the timeline as of when we approve it, but when it actually goes into effect. And from the effective date of this ordinance, or no later than May 21st, 2024, if the following requirements are met. A, application has been deemed complete. All documents required by the department and applicable to the application have been submitted to the department other than CEQA documents no later than December 15th, 2020. And that was based on our conversation from the board that we wanted to have the application itself has been deemed complete, not CEQA has been completed. The applicant has not been and is not currently in violation of applicable state and local laws. That way it's not just the past, it's also current. Let's go ahead and keep scrolling down, please. And this is for early activation, if the applicant has already had a previous early activation permit, they shall only request a renewal of the previous permit. No changes to the permit is, I'm sorry, that was meant to be crossed out. If the applicant has already had a previous early activation permit, only the renewal of the previous permit shall be approved. No changes to the permit are allowed. Very similar, just a little different context. And then for the use permit, if a use permit is obtained during the transition period, a condition of approval will be added that any non-conforming project within the FPZ shall meet the applicable requirements by the expiration date of their non-conforming use. The use permit shall be revoked if the conditions of approval for meeting requirements of the FPZ has not been met by the expiration. And again, it's all about the May 21st, 2024 deadline that we're talking about here. Then the applicable application shall be updated by the applicant to meet the new compliance requirements of the Farmland Protection Zone no later than May 21st, 2022. Again, using May instead of April 20th, since it's when it goes into effect, not when we approve it. If no update to the applicable application has been received by the above referenced date, the eligibility for early activation and or use permit shall be revoked. And then for applications meeting eligibility criteria of 27.13 AT161DI, those projects shall require the use of a hoop house to minimize any and all impacts. And hoop house is defined in section 21-68 of our zoning ordinance. And I will provide a paraphrase that basically no mechanical, no electrical, it's got to be just piping and some sort of, I believe it says translucent fabric on top. And what I will do is I will go and find that specific definition so that I don't just provide a paraphrase, so that our discussion is complete here. But I believe that is the gist of the clarifications. Again, no substance change other than a date change, a couple date changes just to be more specific about when it goes into effect versus when we just approve. And if you can just bear with me for one more second, I will get you that definition. Hoop house, an unheated outdoor enclosure used for the purpose of growing and or for protecting seedlings and plants from cold weather, but not containing any mechanical or electrical systems or storage of any items. Typically, a hoop house is of semicircular design, made of but not limited to piping or other material covered with translucent material. We did have a conversation with both the Ag Department, the Farm Bureau, and CDD that a hoop house is an eligible component of outdoor cultivation. CDFA approves that for their outdoor license as well, so there wouldn't be any conflicting type of licensing from the state or from the county. They would both be deemed outdoor as long as it follows that definition, and that hoop houses are eligible without the requirement of a permit within the FPZ zone only at this point in time. That requirement has not been placed on other areas outside of the FPZ. Again, it's for that enhanced protection. And so this is where I am done with my presentation. Jake, if we can go ahead and close that down, it's available to reopen if anyone needs it, and looking for board discussion on how this looks to them and where we stand on moving forward. And I know we've received a lot of comments. This is obviously a difficult conversation to have and to figure out exactly what is the most fair way to move forward and the fair way to resolve our issue that we're dealing with in our main agricultural zones. Any board member have a comment or question? Supervisor Simon?
I'd just like to hear from the public at this point. I know we got a lot of public comment. I want to get to that and then
Correct,
follow up
correct.
with the discussion.
So definitely a lot of public comment. Any other board member have a comment on this? Supervisor Pyska?
So we did receive a lot of comments, and one of the comments that has stuck with me is that I would like to know, and I sent a message to Deputy Director Takara just a little while ago, and I apologize I didn't do it sooner. But with the open permits that we have and that we're considering for this, how many are in the areas where a greenhouse is a new requirement versus how many applicants are in areas where greenhouse has been required for quite some time?
And I can actually respond to that because that was part of our conversation, and I'll let Deputy Director Thomas also fill in any gaps that I might leave open. There are a total of 28 applications, 6 of which are pretty much ready to go. Their CEQA has been completed. They're very close to being submitted over to the Planning Commission. They've been on hold due to the fact that they are now being impacted by this FPZ. Or by the clarification of the FPZ. I'll let her discuss more of those specific 6, but of the 22 left over of the 28, 13 of them are on farmland designation within the farmland protection zone. And so had we interpreted it in a different way, we would have probably said that that was not possible for them to grow in those locations. Of the leftover, there's 9. Because 13 and 9 make 22. Those 9 are being impacted by a new regulation by the Farmland Protection Zone. Some of them may be where they have a portion of their land is on farmland designation, and another portion was maybe grazing land or other land. And I couldn't tell you specifically of where their site was, but I'm guessing by the minimal amount of farmland designation on their property that that was not the case, especially with the setbacks that we have from property lines as well. So that's the best information that I can provide based on our conversations, but I'd love to hear from Deputy Director Thomas, who is with us. There she is.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, I'm Takara Thomas, Deputy Director of Community Development. I think you answered it pretty much, Chair Sabatier. The only addition I will add is that one permit application is missing from farmland protection zone. So that total is 29.
Okay. And of those 6 that are ready to go to Planning Commission, do you have a breakdown? Because I know I didn't request that list of the 6. Do you have a breakdown of which ones were in farmland designation inside the FPZ, or if they were not in farmland designation and are in the FPZ?
All right, give me 1 second to open up my spreadsheet now. So I'll take the question in parts. Of those 6 that are within the farmland protection zone, at least one is ready for the PC, and that actually went before the PC in January and that continued. The rest are either waiting us to pull the trigger or their CEQA is circulating at the CEQA.net.
But were the parcels that they're trying to cultivate on a designated farmland of prime farmland, unique farmland, or something of the kind, and also in the FPZ, or were they in other land that they've been caught by these changes based on the new FPZ rules?
All right, so that's a little bit of a different question. Give me a second. Of the 29 total parcels that are within the farmland protection zone, 18 of them have some kind of farmland designation, either local, prime, or unique designation.
So it would appear to me, since I said 13 and you're saying 18, that 5 out of the 6 were on farmland designation. Is that a correct assumption?
It's a different question. And also part of it too is my spreadsheet got updated between yesterday and today. So that's a little bit of the difference that you're seeing.
Okay.
And for the ones that are, so if they're in farmland protection zone and they have a farmland designation and their CEQA is complete, that's 5 projects.
Okay. Perfect. So 5 out of the 6, which would make a total of 18 of the 29, are inside the farmland protection zone, obviously, since that's our discussion, but also on farmland designation as well. Any further questions from the board? And so before we open it up to the public, I will say that the purpose was to offer a level of protection between 2 different industries. One is a new and blossoming industry that I really believe wholeheartedly has a future in Lake County, and one is an industry that has been around for 100 years in Lake County as far as our normal traditional agriculture. And I hate the fact that we're separating it. Eventually they'll all be in the same basket, but for now there's a transition period as we get more accustomed and figure out how to coexist. And so I would like to at least put on the table the option of looking at 2 years for the transition. I know that CDD has been working hard to put together some components of the process which allow for applicants to do their own CEQA and submit that to the department. And then the department has access to contractors who would be eligible to review and revise, well, not revise, review these CEQA documents, which I think makes it so that our timelines that we see today are capable of being less tomorrow. And I know it's somewhat of a hopeful thinking that this is the case, but I truly believe that we are setting ourselves up to be prepared for that kind of timeline. Open for that discussion. Just wanted to make sure it was out there before we started discussing it after the public comments came in. Any further comments from board members? Okay, let's go ahead and open up for comment. Any further comments before before opening up for the public from CDD? Deputy Director Thomas, do you have anything further to add? And I know Director De Leon is also here with us as well.
Not at this time. Not for me.
Thank you. I think the only thing I would add would be the additional information from the conversation about the hoop houses and recognizing some of the reluctance about those, and the discussion we had about requiring conditions that they be disassembled at the completion of a growing season, and that they're not allowed to just be allowed to just remain out there and fall apart due to weather. They are temporary, and they should be there should be some conditions that address that. And we talked about that in our discussion yesterday, and I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that that is something that we would likely require.
Okay, appreciate you bringing that up. That was part of our conversation, so happy that you brought that up. Also would like to provide an opening for our Ag Commissioner in case he has any comments now, again, before we open it up for the public.
I just have some comments, just like the normal public comments. So is that what I'm doing now?
Please.
Okay. I support the 2-year transition period versus the 3. I think that's enough time to be compliant with the Farmland Protection Zone rules. I hope the board considers that violations of the state and county code are equal to their ability of paying taxes. I would hate to think that paying taxes is more important than compliance with the county code and state code. Early activation, I agree strongly that it should be not expanded, because if they get lucky once, I think it's wrong to get lucky again and again and again. Once you get lucky once in the Farmland Protection Zone, that's all you get. As far as use permits, there should be limits on use permits. There should be expiration dates. They should have to meet those expiration dates. Otherwise, I think the growers of cannabis are just going to drag their feet and claim victimhood just to get more time. Let's see. The application date of 5/20/22 is certainly enough time to change their application to comply with the new regulations. And lastly, I support the hoop house outdoor requirements to minimize the impacts. And I had forgotten all about taking it down every year, so I'm very happy that Scott brought that up, because I forgot about it. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And so let's go ahead and start with public comment. First one that I see is Brenna Sullivan. Let's go ahead and provide her an unmute.
Thank you, Supervisors. Brenna Sullivan with the Lake County Farm Bureau. Real quickly before I get going, I just wanted to make the quick point that sound land use planning that has allowed for the copacetic existence and mutual protection of both industries in Lake County was carefully developed with public input since 2016. And because of these policies, Lake County has not been fraught with the bitter issues on ag land that are currently facing some of the other areas of the state. So it is imperative to uphold these successful policies, as the incompatibilities between these two industries have not yet been solved. And I also appreciate the information from CDD, as it's important to distinguish between projects on a farmland designation that were already required to grow in greenhouses and the projects that are now truly facing new requirements. We're still opposed to offering this transition to projects that already had pre-existing requirements to grow in a greenhouse, but we do accept that there are some streamlining that could make this process easier for CDD. However, since all projects will likely expand past their early activation footprint, there is a risk of introducing liability on ag land that we've been careful to avoid up to this point. So hoop houses, while they're no substitution for the protective nature of greenhouses, they do offer some mitigation versus open outdoor growing. That has been suggested under this temporary non-conforming major use permit. We are opposed to any outdoor cultivation on prime farmland or within the FPZs. So requiring these outdoor projects to use hoop houses as a mitigating measure is a valid compromise. We also support a 2-year transition period and agree with requiring an update of plans by May of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Next hand I see is Crystal Kesey. Try again.
I'm driving. Can you hear me?
We could barely hear you. Is there any way that we can help with the volume? It doesn't look like we can.
Yeah, let me try, just a second, let me try, I can try and change that.
Now, I think if you keep the phone where it is now, I think we can hear you. Let's give it a shot.
Okay. Couple things. One is I looked up the California Food and Ag Code, and pesticide drift is a misdemeanor. So putting the burden of protecting traditional agriculture, you're protecting the people who are committing a misdemeanor. And so I just can't wrap my brain around why the burden of the protection between traditional agriculture and cannabis, the economic and land use burden is placed on the people who are going to be experiencing the effects of pesticide drift. And so that's never been answered when I've asked that question. It's just, and so that's something that I think probably needs to be discussed, probably not today. I would urge you to approve something today, because if you don't, then these farms that are affected basically lose their season. I would also, if you're going to have requirements for hoop houses, this is April 13th, and there's no information about specific requirements for hoop houses, so you're going to be introducing new requirements about 2 weeks before where everyone is supposed to plant their farms. So I don't know about the timing of imposing even additional requirements, but I do support the ordinance as it is written, not a 2-year transition. Speaking as an applicant who's been in the application process for 2.5 years, I don't have confidence that the occur in 2 years' time for all of these projects, unless they're giving some kind of concierge service through the planning department. Experience and the timeframes that we've witnessed over the last 2 to 3 years. So again, the California Food and Ag Code, pesticide drift is a misdemeanor. So why are we passing laws that protect the people who commit misdemeanors? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next hand I see is Sasha Racine.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
My name is Sasha Racine, and I'm a 40-year resident of Lake County. I work in Lake County traditional agriculture and own multiple houses and businesses in Lake County. I'm opposed to the commercial cannabis cultivation without a greenhouse on prime farmland. If a transition period is to be granted, it should be of a minimal amount of time that is necessary to come in compliance. Projects should not be permitted to expand outside the early activation footprint, and the transition period should only be available to projects that are now considered to be under a new greenhouse requirement. I support the requirement of the hoop house if this is what we're going to do. And finally, any projects that were clearly not operating in a gray area, any project that was clearly not operating in a gray area and were operating outside the ordinance should not be rewarded with eligibility for this transition period. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Annette Hopkins.
Okay, I believe I've unmuted myself. You can all hear me?
We can all hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, supervisors, and especially to Moak and Tina and Jessica. I know you're all Ag Venture graduates from our California Women for Agriculture program. And so you know what kinds of regulations and rules farmers are up against that are constantly being thrown at them and sometimes brand new every year, and they adapt. They sometimes ask for a variance, or they sometimes ask for, you know, can you hang with me till I can fix it? But farmers are used to adapting, and I believe that if people would like to grow cannabis, they need to understand that there is an adaptation kind of a mindset that has to go along with farming. And then also the person who just spoke about pesticide drift, truly I do not know what is in the code, but I do know this, that even within what is considered traditional agriculture, conventional and organic farmers have these issues between themselves. So pesticide drift is just something everyone has to deal with, and it has to be respected. I agree that since everyone knew about this for years, why we're having this conversation is sort of beyond me, but I get it. I believe that 2 years is more than generous. Hoop houses, okay, if we have to make a compromise, and updating plans. Everybody needs to get on board and do this the right way, and they need to do it in a fashion that is respectful and responsible. So thank you for taking my comments, and I appreciate that you're working hard for a solution.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Sarah Bodner.
Good afternoon, Chair Sabatier and supervisors. This is Sarah Bodner speaking on behalf of Kindness Farm. I just want to start by saying, like, a genuine thank you to the board and the staff and also the Planning Commission for working through this issue for the last long while now. And it truly is a really complicated problem that we're trying to solve. And we appreciate the ongoing effort to create a workable transition plan for the farms that are in the farmland protection zone and to clarify the terms of this plan transition so that it's super clear for all of us. We understand this has involved a lot of compromise, and we appreciate you listening to all the stakeholders and the Planning Commission in coming up with a thoughtful plan. We offer our full support for the language brought forward in item A, the pathway for applicants impacted by the creation of the farmland protection zone. This will allow our farm, as well as many others, to continue operations this season, as we're only a couple weeks away from planting. And it will allow us to retain our staff so that we can keep operating while we wait for our use permit hearing. The hoop house requirement was a surprise, but it is workable, and I think that's where we need to all arrive. Is it something that can work for this year? Like I said, you know, we're a week or two away from when we want to plant, so this is our moment to put something in place that can help preserve business activity and preserve the employment of our employees and the ongoing workable compromise that we're trying to figure out in the farmland protection zone. We hope that all the supervisors will support this pathway. On item B, is that okay if I speak to that now, or do you want to wait regarding the EIR?
Let's go ahead and wait.
Okay, then I will close my comments there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do not see any further hands up in the Zoom room. I figured there might be more. All right, let's go ahead and start with Sean Connell.
Sean Connell, I see that your mic is unmuted, but I'm not hearing any audio. Will you please check for a hardware mute? Once again, I saw your mute toggled there. Maybe your microphone has a switch on it.
Third time's the charm. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
Third time was a charm.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I want to just commend you guys yet again that we sit here talking about cannabis regulations and the need for these things to be enacted quickly. This season for most cultivators is running quite quickly, and there's still staff time that needs to be done in order for them to have proper legal documentation from the county for them to move forward. So I think that coming to a head and making an agreement and knowing that we need to move forward is a good idea here. I just want to bring up a few things, as most cannabis cultivators now understand the cumulative impacts of their projects, as it's been kind of beaten around in most planning commissions throughout the state. And one thing that hasn't been discussed here is what will be required when these greenhouses actually get approved. Under state building code requirements, all of those buildings have to be provided with California access, meaning Chapter 11B of the California Building Code. Not only that, all those plans need to be engineered, reviewed, and signed off by the building department. As we understand, the planning department is already in massive staffing is massively understaffed. I'm wondering about the capabilities of our building department to keep up with the influx of greenhouse applications that will be coming through their department. Additionally, that puts into other questions like the loads on public power, road access, administrative access, things of that nature. And to incorporate that, those projects now are going to be taxed at a higher rate, with a higher state tax, with a higher state permitting cost, with a higher cost for basic business. And I just want to go back to a couple of things that I heard from other public comments that, you know, the traditional agriculture has dealt with changes sometimes yearly. I think cannabis cultivators are dealing with it at monthly at this point. This is our moment where the cannabis cultivators are saying, hey, can you help me out a little bit? Well, it sounds like the board and the county has come to that point where they're saying, hoop houses are your transition. This is our help you out a little bit to get into compliance with what we have to do to protect and preserve the culture and county of Lake. So with that, I do want to end my questions, and I just want to make sure that we do kind of go back and look at how many changes have been done to cannabis cultivation ordinances and making sure that those changes are available not only to public staff, but to the public as well. Because as I look at it right now, if I were to have to convert my cultivation to meet this, I have an acre outdoor permit that is now going to be reduced down to 22,000 square feet and taxed twice as much as my outdoor permit in process. And so I think that should be looked at and talked about and definitely expanded upon in the future. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment, and we're going to go ahead and finish the public comment, but wanted to at least state that we do need to just bring up the conversation of the workload of getting approvals for this, so that comment will not be forgotten. So let's go ahead and go to the next hand, Julia Jacobson.
Hello, board. Thank you for giving us the time to speak today, and thank you for considering this matter. As you have heard from many other operators, this is very important to our financial well-being to continue to operate even on the footprints that we have today. I just want to speak today to some of the implications about the tones that have been used in referring to our industry as a whole. There has been a lot of tones used that portray us as bad actors in general. And I just wanted to explain to those who may not be familiar with the cannabis industry, it is the most highly regulated industry in operation today. As owners, our fingerprints are in the DOJ and FBI systems. All of our employees are required to go through fingerprinting and live scanning with the local sheriff's departments. All of our products are in a track and trace system. We have surprise inspections from over 3 different agencies on a regular basis. And like Sean said just before this, we are used to changing regulations on a monthly basis, not on an annual basis. So we really appreciate you hearing us in this please help us now moment and help us transition. As I will reiterate what others have said, the transition period allows us to generate revenue in a lower cost operational way with outdoor, while we're able to then use that revenue and turn it back into the costs that are required to build out the infrastructure that you are requiring us to have. So thank you for consideration today, and I just wanted to give a little insight into how regulated we are and that we truly are good actors with good intentions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Any further comments from the public in the Zoom room? I do not see any more hands up. And so let's go ahead and take this moment to see if Deputy Director Thomas or Director De Leon want to speak on the capacity for building permits, and if those go directly through planners or if they have a separate avenue for approval, just to kind of get an idea if that time frame is realistic for the total number of applications potentially looking to transition over.
Well, yeah, I'll be happy to speak to that. You know, the demand on our building division is high, but it's not nearly at the level of the demand of our planners. We have a lot of permits in there for planning, and while again we have a high workload for building, I think the capacity is there. We have 2 plan checkers. We have a chief building official. We're full with building inspectors, and our team just continues to grow and get better. And so I'm pretty confident that when the time comes that we need to start looking at these structures, that we'll be prepared.
Thank you very much, Director De Leon. And so since there's no more hands up, let's go ahead and bring this back to the board, and let's deliberate. Supervisor Scott. Oh, and actually, I'm so sorry, if I may interrupt, I'd like to read the public comment that I know we received officially through the e-comment from Pat Scully. It is attached to our agenda, and so wanted to at least give that one the time it requires. Dear Chairman Sabatier, Supervisors Crandall, Pyska, Scott, and Simon, I am writing to voice my strong support for upholding the existing farmland protection zone in Lake County's cannabis ordinance. It appears that errors were made in the planning department and some EA permits were issued on properties that should not have qualified for open grows. In determining what to do with the errantly issued permits, I request you consider the following points. 1, our ordinance was the product of several years of development by all of the stakeholders in Lake County. While it was not perfect for anyone, it did make an effort to protect our historical agricultural businesses from the gold rush we are now seeing in the cannabis industry. Any watering down of the farmland protection zone seriously impacts many of the crops that Lake County is famous for. If replaced by cannabis during this gold rush period, some of these crops will be lost forever. 2, those receiving the errantly issued EA permits should have understood the existing ordinance. Many of these applicants also had consultants that should have been aware that their projects did not conform. I understand that what is done for this year, but can't comprehend why those permits should be extended beyond this growing season. These permit holders should not be rewarded with additional years to be non-conforming. There have been plenty of people that have been working in good faith to conform to our existing ordinance. What do you tell the cannabis grower that did everything by the book and developed their grow, most likely at much higher cost, in an area outside the farmland protection zone? What about the farmer who sold his property within the farmland protection zone knowing that it could not be used for cannabis production and couldn't be valued as such? 4, perhaps as a mitigating measure, these EA permit holders in question should be asked to agree that they waive their right to open grows in the future once the permit expires. Can they be required to grow in hoop houses in the meantime? I ask for your support in doing what you can to preserve the intent of our existing cannabis ordinance. Agriculture has been a cornerstone of both Lake County's economy and heritage and is severely threatened by the current gold rush surrounding the cannabis industry. Please consider what Lake County will look like 5 years down the road if this frenzy is allowed to spiral out of control. Sincerely, Pat Scully, General Manager of Scully Packing Company, LLC. Okay, I apologize for interrupting you, Supervisor Scott, but wanted to make sure to provide that final public comment.
Not a problem. I just like to go back and address that comment about, good actors, bad actors. I definitely agree that our cannabis industry has not been treated equally. And I think that goes back to the fact that, we for many years fought the bad actors, and now for the last 4 years have been working really hard trying to bring people into compliance. And we do have some amazing people that have done some great work and are definitely good actors in our community. And I think that's why we're working again today to try to make sure that equality is there across the board. I do like the idea of the good faith date, having a date that they're showing that they are working on their plans. I am still concerned about the 2 years or the 3 years. Is there some way that we can agree to the 2 years, but have some sort of mechanism in place that if the fault falls onto us, that the grower has done everything that they're supposed to do, but we have fallen short as a county, can give them extra time to be able to complete that project? That's my only question.
Appreciate the comment. There would definitely need to be some wordsmithing involved in figuring that out if that is the direction the board chooses to go. If you don't mind my going to other board members for comments before we have that conversation, or if those board members wish to entertain that discussion. Any other board member wish to make a comment? Supervisor Simon?
No, last time we talked about the you know, the 3 years being a concern, obviously, but, you know, with the public comment and, our ag commissioner weighing it, you know, I'm leaning towards the 2 years at this time.
Okay. Supervisor Pyska?
I've been in between 2 and 3 years. I would hope that we could make this be a 2-year process, but I know that, you know, that it can be difficult. So my preference is 2 years. I don't know if we need to build in that language or just look at it case by case if there's some kind of, if an applicant can't make that deadline. But if we have the 1 year hard date of next spring where they have to have their plan submitted, that puts them on a really good track for success. And I think that's how we should manage this handful of applicants, is we build a successful program for them to get through 2 years, and we do everything that we possibly can. You know, things that are unforeseen happen, and we may have to look at that in 2 years, but I think it's better than the 3 year.
I do have a question about any potential language that's added. Ms. Grant, would that require another first reading if we place that type of language in this current format?
Are you talking about the type of language where it would be 2 years, but if certain circumstances existed, it could be extended? And the circumstances being the fault of the department? I think it might be more than just a few words. I think it may require some type of due process, because if an applicant says, I've done everything, but community development didn't, and community development disagrees with that, the property owner is going to be entitled to be heard by your board. What you might want to do is either consider kind of splitting it between 2 and 3, or picking one or the other. And if you do decide to pick 2, you may want to have a 1 year period of review. You can always amend the ordinance to extend it further if after the 1 year period things aren't moving the way your board hoped, or you know, there are other conditions, other emergencies, other staff shortages. So much of this might be well beyond everyone's control.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm in the belief that we need something to pass today, and any substantial changes that restarts the clock just keeps adding more pressure on an industry that is waiting for us right now, or at least a portion of the industry that is waiting for us to make a decision on what possibly might happen this year for them. And I say possibly because just because we pass this does not automatically mean you get to cultivate. You still need to fulfill the eligibilities of being able to get an early activation, fulfill the eligibilities of getting a use permit. This does not automatically make this a yes for every applicant out there, but at least it gives you the avenue to be able to move forward if you fulfill the eligibility for the FPZ transition. That way it gives us a year, 2 years maximum to review and see if we are on our way to resolving this issue. I would like not to put any buts in there, as that leaves a very large opening. I think not having that puts pressure on us to ensure that we provide the right level of service to get these things done, accomplished, out the door. I think that the sooner we can get this dealt with entirely, the better off everyone will be, so that we can just move forward. And I understand some of the comments that have been made, that there's been a lot of changes. Some changes have been positive. Nobody complains about the positive ones, nor do they bring it up when they talk about changes. It's only the negative ones we discuss. But I don't believe that there is a board member on this, on the dais, on this board that is against cannabis being a part of our economy here in Lake County. So I think that unfortunately there is a past, and we're still dealing with some of those who are choosing not to join the legal market. Unfortunately, we still have those actors in the area, and we need to have a better discussion about that. But today we are talking about legitimate business owners who are trying to do a legitimate farm, and trying to make sure that we can do something fair. So that would be the direction I would like to go, is let's not put a if and but in any of these clauses. And I think it's our due diligence to ensure that CDD has the resources and abilities to be able to accomplish this 2-year goal or 3-year goal, depending on what direction the board decides to go.
So, so then this time next year, these applicants would be required to present their progress for compliance.
And I don't know if I would use the word present, because I don't anticipate that they would come to us, but they should be up to date with a revision of their application with CDD based on the new compliance they need to meet.
Yeah, I mean, present to CDD and be in contact with CDD.
And currently it goes further than just present. You need to have it be updated, and I think a year is enough time to be able to provide that. Supervisor Scott?
So I agree, not adding the but, because that does leave some gray area, which we're trying to resolve that. So maybe if we could have CDD come back to us in a year or a year and a half and give us progress on what's going on, who's filed their updates and how many we have left. So maybe just keep us informed. So if there's something we need to do, we're not waiting until 2 years to realize that there's a problem.
Absolutely, I do agree with that. Any further comments, Supervisor Crandall?
Yeah, I was, I think you weren't looking over here, but
Sorry.
But I was already at 2 years last week with our decision, but I actually feel really good about the discussion, dialogue we've had today. I think everyone understands it better, and we know everyone's stance, and so, yeah, I'm good with the 2 years, and then having them come back and review in a year, that would be great.
Okay.
So the language about the cleanup of the hoop houses, or making that a requirement at some point, I agree with that. They don't need to be left out year-round and deteriorate.
And a quick question for Ms. Grant, is that something that would change the substance of it by adding that the hoop houses need to be taken down at the end of each harvest season? Or is that something we can leave with CDD to provide on their own within the conditions of approval, which seems to be something that might be within their wheelhouse to do?
I think you can add a sentence. For the first reading, your board can amend this ordinance on its face any way you choose, as you know. The issue is if you amend it beyond clarifiers from what you've already presented to the community, people haven't had a chance to review. But here, since you've raised the issue of hoop houses, I mean, part of being able to use a hoop house is maintaining it and or dismantling it, whatever is necessary. So I think a brief sentence, you can even, as I said, you could even refer to it in terms of under those conditions specified under conditions of approval by community development. You can make some reference to that if you like, or you can just simply say that hoop houses have to be maintained and dismantled and put away when not in use, or however you want to phrase it. But it doesn't have to be anything belabored.
Okay. Quick question for the board. Are we, I would like to request that Ms. Grant, sorry to put you on the spot, provide a full additional sentence for us to approve rather than us figure out what the right wording would be. Do we need to take a 5-minute recess? That'd be nice. Okay, let's go ahead and take 10 minutes. so that we can go ahead and finalize this and give Ms. Grant enough time to be able to figure this one out, which I'm sure she already knows what she wants, just to make sure that it could be double checked, and then we'll be back. So it is 2:31. Let's reconvene at 2:41, and then the board will be taking action. All right, we got about 30 more seconds or a minute. It's still 2:40. Okay, it is 2:41. All supervisors are here, and I believe everyone's ready. Johanna and Jake just wanted to check in real quick. We good?
Good and ready.
I'm ready as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, and so Ms. Grant, would you please read to us the addition that we discussed for the hoop houses and dismantling them as adding it to the ordinance? And also, can you provide, I believe it should be in, so let me just read the entire thing, 27.13 AT1, section 6(1)D, under number 5, and are we going to add that as section B? Section 5 is due to the need to protect the interface between traditional agriculture and cannabis cultivation. All projects within the farmland protection zone that are eligible to cultivate outdoors shall require the use of a hoop house to minimize any and all impacts. Part A just says what is the definition of hoop house. Would this fall under Part B?
I think that'd be fine.
Perfect.
The language I'm suggesting is at the end of each growing season within this transition period, hoop houses must be dismantled and removed from the project location until the next growing season.
Okay. I do want to check in. Thank you very much for that. I do want to check in with staff, Director De Leon or Deputy Director Thomas. Does that statement work for you? I see a thumbs up and a nod. I'm going to take that. That's the universal yes. And so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and bring it back to the board for action. I think we're ready. And just to remind, there were also those clarification amendments that were brought to the board as well, based on Ms. Grant's suggestions as well.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
The action that you'd be taking then would be to approve, first I would by motion just approve all the adjustments to the ordinance that have been made, including this last one, if that meets with your approval. So the ordinance as amended on its face today. After having done that, then there should be a motion to waive reading of the ordinance, having it read in title only, which would be the new title that you presented during your remarks, sir. If that's approved, then there would be a further motion to advance the reading of the ordinance to agendas with, it has to be 5 days, so anytime 5 days hence.
So next week would work.
It should be fine.
Okay.
Except that it won't work for your schedule next week, I don't think.
I believe it would be in the consent agenda, since
could be.
we seem to have
It could be in the consent agenda,
we seem
yes.
to have had a pretty healthy conversation with not much in back and forth on disagreements. I think today's conversation was very much on a lot of on the same page type of conversation. So I approve of putting that on the consent agenda. So looking for action based on the comments made by Ms. Grant.
The first would be the motion to approve all of the modifications made on the face of the document today.
So moved.
Good.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and on the face of the document also means the additional amendment made for the hoop houses?
Yes, sir. It would
Yes.
include everything that your board's been presented with and has been presented to the public.
Okay, and so we have a motion and a second. Johanna, if you could please do a roll call.
Can you tell me who made the motion?
The motion was made by Supervisor Simon and seconded by Supervisor Crandall.
Okay, thank you. So Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott, Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
And then I will read the title.
excuse me, it has to be a motion to waive reading of the ordinance and have it read in title only.
Oh, so second motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to read the ord in title only, and that's it.
Waive
right?
reading.
And waive the reading.
And waive the reading.
Second.
Okay, motion again by Supervisor Simon, second by Supervisor Crandall. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye. And I'll read the title, an ordinance amending Chapter 21, Article 27 of the Lake County Code, providing a limited period of transition for applicants whose cannabis cultivation projects are located in the farmland protection zone. And then looking for a motion to move the second reading to April 20th, 2021.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Chair, but just for point of clarification, because there are some additional language adjustments, what did you determine as to the transition period?
Ooh, yes. We did amend, but we didn't say specifically if we wanted 2 years or 3 years, and the original document said 3 years.
And that will change some dates, as you know.
Correct. Okay, so we talked, I apologize, do we need to do an amendment to a motion?
You can just do a further motion to include these modifications.
Okay. What I would say is the modifications would be 2 years, which would make it May 21st, 2022 for the modifications to the application, and then May 21st, 2023 for the expiration date for when the compliance need to be met.
And that will have to be approved by motion, and then you will have to waive reading again.
I appreciate it, though, so we don't have to start all over at another time after we find out we missed this.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I will move to amend the first motion to add the 2-year language and change the dates.
Fine.
Second.
Okay, we have another motion from Supervisor Simon and a second by Supervisor Crandall. And Johanna, roll call. We will finish this item, I swear.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye. And then I
Thank
believe
you.
we're looking for a motion to waive reading.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to waive the reading and read in title only.
Second.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye. And I will read it again. The title is an ordinance amending Chapter 21, Article 27 of the Lake County Code, providing a limited period of transition for applicants whose cannabis cultivation projects are located in the farmland protection zone.
And now just one further motion to advance the reading of the ordinance to the 20th.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to advance the ordinance to April 20th, 2021.
Good catch. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna, and thank you to all staff that have worked with me and us throughout this process, and thank you to all the public input, and yes, I appreciate this. Okay, let's move forward. We will keep going down the line on item 7s. I believe we are on 7.3.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, B.
Oh, Part B, so sorry. Yes, thank you for reminding me. So quickly, Part B is real easy. Originally, a while back, I forget the exact time frame, we talked about doing a programmatic EIR and doing an RFP for that, and we had kind of set it up for Ms. Grant to start working on the RFP. Later on, we discussed about redoing the ordinance and just kind of revising it, streamlining it, and making the changes that we feel are necessary to help make things as efficient as possible. I know we're talking more change, but we're looking more at the processing change versus the activity change. And since the programmatic EIR would make more sense to align with the ordinance, and if we're looking to revise the ordinance again in the near future, most likely late fall, early winter, that at this point I would like to at least provide direction to Ms. Grant so that we don't ask her to continue the work on the RFP when it is not of high priority for her to do so at this moment in time. I just wanted to make sure that that direction came from the board than from any other implied direction from the idea that we will be reviewing the ordinance later on this winter and fall.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I do have just the skeleton of the RFP done, as I had mentioned to you. Obviously, there's a great deal of additional information with regard to the actual project description. The specific goals have to be incorporated there along with the background. But I can tell you that in drafting it, the idea, because there have been not only changes that your board has made incrementally in the ordinance, but your board has evinced your intent in various resolutions over time, and it would be a much stronger programmatic EIR if you do have an actual streamlined ordinance to have this focused upon as you're looking at doing all of these things countywide.
Thank you very much for that. And again, this is mainly that we gave direction, and the last thing I want to do is see more time than necessary from staff being spent on something that we're going to be waiting on, where all of a sudden we're seeing an RFP be provided to the public and then receiving bids for something that we're not ready for. So I wanted to just bring this back just to kind of close the loop rather than leaving it open-ended. And so overall for item B, we are just looking for direction to staff and see if we can update that direction to hold until further notice and open for discussion.
I'm in agreement.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I also agree.
Okay. Do we want to, you know what, I'm going to say consensus should be good. We provided that consensus. It's very clear. I think it was a unanimous consensus. Okay. Let's open that up to the public real quick, just because that is a new item, and I see that Sarah Bodner has her hand up.
Hi, thank you, Chair Sabatier and Supervisors. This is Sarah Bodner on behalf of Kindness Farms. And we totally support streamlining the ordinance. I think it makes so much sense and support your efforts in taking that on when you're ready. But we wanted to offer an alternative perspective on this, that we think it may actually be important to continue the search for the consultant to prepare an EIR rather than waiting until you're ready to rewrite the ordinance, simply because the search process can take a significant amount of time to find the right person. So it may actually be beneficial to begin that search now, even though you're not quite ready to start the work, because it could take several months and to find the right person that's going to be available. Additionally, you might consider that putting out an RFQ, a request for quotation, rather than an RFP, so that you could select a consultant and then work with them to negotiate the scope and fee once you are ready to begin rewriting the ordinance. This might all just help set the county up for success once you're ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, and we have no one left in the boardroom but us. Let's go ahead and close public comment and bring it back. And while I appreciate Ms. Bodner's comments, I think we have so many items on all of our staff's plates. Adding this one on top of everything else, I think we have time. We can definitely bring it back before we start the process of revising and streamlining the ordinance. But at this moment in time, I feel like it's just an added burden on top of everything else that we're asking for staff to get done. And I know that I had consensus from the rest of the board, but just looking again for that same consensus in case minds have changed. Okay, I'm seeing consensus. Thank you very much, and I think that was clear. And now we can move on, and thank you very much for reminding me about Part B, completely forgot. Okay, now we're on to item 7.3. 7.3 is consideration of amendment to the uniform and clothing purchase policy in Exhibit A, and direct the Human Resources Director to conduct the meet and confer process with our labor representatives. CAO Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Will it be okay with you if I share screen while I present this item?
Please.
It was noticed that there were a couple of minor things that got missed, and so I'll explain those as I go. They're the ones that are highlighted in the pink highlighting. So for the first time in a couple years, we are asking your board's approval in concept to amend the uniform and clothing purchase policy and the corresponding Exhibit A that goes with that. If you approve what is proposed today, then it goes on to the meet and confer process that our Human Resources Director would initiate. So the changes that you'll see in this policy, first and foremost, there is a new general provisions section that is intended to clarify that items covered under this policy are not for personal use. It would give department heads the authority to determine the frequency to replace items, given that the wear and tear may differ widely depending on the type of clothing or how the clothing is used, depending on the job. And to clarify that in rare cases where a purchase exceeds the maximum allowable amount for an item, that the department head would be responsible for covering this difference. This has happened sometimes in the past, inadvertently. So, and then in addition to those changes, some departments have also requested some changes to the uniform policy, in particular to Exhibit A, which is in front of you. And so starting with animal control, they asked for approval to provide raincoats and rain boots. So if you can follow my mouse, you'll see the red, let's see, the red D under Animal Control Officer for raincoats and rain boots. That should be a red D as well. I apologize if that is not red. Air Quality is requesting to change the safety boot allocation from a D to an A, and I should explain that a D means that the item is provided by the department to the employee, and A means that it's an allowance that is given to the employee. In the case of air quality, they're making the point that with something like a safety boot, it's not what the department can provide to them. Really, the employee needs to select it and make sure they get the right fit. And so they're asking for that change for air quality, as you can see up here, making that an A. And then for the safety pants, the department would provide those, and they're requesting that these be Nomex pants, N-O-M-E-X, which is a type of safety equipment that's used for wildfire and burn call responses. The roads department is requesting a new item. These are called, we're over here, safety pants and bibs. So it would be a type of pant that comes up almost like an apron in the front. Water Resources is requesting approval to provide safety jackets and safety pants. So you'll see the new red Ds there indicating that. Special Districts asked that a number of the maximum amounts per item be increased based on the current market costs for some of these items. And so if you go over here to the maximum cost column, you'll see those in red, that they are recommending be increased based on their experience in trying to purchase those. And then Special Districts, if you come over to their column, they are also requesting some additional things. So you'll see they're requesting safety jackets, they're requesting the safety pant and bibs, and they're requesting hats. Other departments not previously afforded authority under this policy are also requesting to be able to provide polo shirts with a county logo and department name to employees. Some of the many reasons that department heads gave for such polo shirts would be for staff that are working in situations where they are front-facing, or they are with the public in the office or in the field in an emergency operations center, or otherwise responding to disaster, such as a sheltering situation. They are hosting public events, coordinating with, or reaching out to the public, interfacing with other government agencies. Employees do a lot of that. In general, department heads expressed that the authorization for polo shirts for employees in those situations would go a long way to also promoting professionalism, employee morale, and employee pride as well. And so a majority of departments expressed a desire for that, not all, but nonetheless, we've added a column over here on the far right that would give the department head authority to determine those situations in every department where it's appropriate to provide a polo shirt to the employee. That completes my remarks.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Any comments from supervisors? And if we can possibly
Take it
close down the share.
Sure.
Looking for any comments? Supervisor Pyska.
Yeah, I just have a question about the apparel. Is this stuff that are items that can be purchased locally? Does the embroidery happen locally? And if not, can we do that?
It most often does. We use some of the local vendors, probably the same ones that provide uniforms and stuff for school athletics. So yes, most often it is local.
Great.
Thank you. Any other comment from the supervisors?
I was just comment, thank you for bringing this to the board. You know, I think any opportunity, you know, I think you hit on there, the morale, the opportunities to make sure that our employees are, you know, feeling as good as they can when they're working with the public and everything and representing us. I think it's a great opportunity. So I know it's just the little things, but can't say how much I appreciate each and every one of our employees here at the county, and this is something we're looking to do. I'm here to support them in getting this small thing done.
All right. Thank you for the comment. I do have a question. I guess it's an approximate cost of especially the all other departments with polos. I mean, we have potentially 1,000 employees. I'm both concerned in two different directions. One, all other departments, but that doesn't include solid waste field staff, parks maintenance, animal control. Does it include all of those since those columns have not been provided a D?
It did not include those because I believe they already have uniform shirts.
Okay. Okay. And so what is the potential cost of a $30 polo for all other employees that fit within the all other departments?
Well, we'd have to calculate that for you, Supervisor. I don't know that off the top of my head. If you would like me to get that information. We're not assuming that it would be every single employee because not every employee falls into those circumstances that we were listing. Somebody that truly works in a back office setting likely would not have need for a polo shirt. And so, you know, if you want to think about it in terms of general fund expense, there are approximately 400 general fund employees. The rest of the departments would have sufficient state and federal allocations to cover. And for those departments that have the state and federal allocations, they are often interfacing with state staff that are wearing the logo polo shirts when county employees are not. So if you think about the 300 times 30 a year, assuming they get one shirt a year, it's, what is that, 9,000?
9,000. And that's spread across multiple departments.
Yes.
So I don't think that the cost is too much. I just wanted to at least have that conversation. And I agree, it's nice to have a little bit of uniformity of what we look like when we're interfacing with other agencies or interfacing with the public. There is one other portion of this that I wanted to discuss, which is the actual policy, which seems to contradict itself. In 1.2, it says general, professional, and supervisory positions. For all general, professional, and supervisory positions, professional and appropriate attire must be worn while on county business. Clothing allowances or purchases for these positions are prohibited. And I think that the all other departments kind of cancels and nullifies that. And so I think we need to not say that it's prohibited if right now we're trying to say it should be allowed, because it has the letter D, which says that it will be purchased for the employees, not the employees will purchase it themselves.
We can just strike that sentence if that's your recommendation. That's language that has been in there probably for a long, long time.
Right, right. And so that's the only change that I think I would make, and I appreciate the conversation of approximation of what the cost could be, and that's a maximum cost that we were looking at too. Okay. Any further questions from supervisors? Let's go
Just,
ahead.
I think this is a good direction to go. I know I've been to many other counties where their employees do have shirts, and we do show up not having those. They don't realize what county we are from. So I think this is definitely a good move forward, just to showcase that we're Lake County, and here we are.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry if I missed your hand up. I apologize for that. Let's go ahead and open it up for the public. Any public comments on this item? Again, there's a button at the bottom of your screen to click and for raising your hand, or else if you're via telephone, dial *9. And seeing none, let's go ahead and bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, based on Supervisor Pyska's comment about buying local, I would like to suggest one other thing to the new general provisions section, and that is that we add another statement in there that to the greatest extent possible, department heads shall purchase these items locally from local vendors.
Okay, and they would just be added to the main policy?
Yeah, to the general provisions section, it would just be a new statement inserted at the bottom of that.
So 1.7?
No, it'd be part of 1.1.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. And if that's agreeable to other board members, again,
Yes.
looking for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve in concept the revised county uniform and clothing policy with the revisions made today, including Exhibit A, and direct the Human Resources Director to conduct the meet and confer and clothing purchase policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Her lips moved.
Try again.
Yes.
okay, and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Supervisors.
very much. Okay, motion carries. We're moving on to item 7.4, consideration of the following advisory board appointments: area-wide planning, East Area Region 3 Town Hall Earth, Kelseyville Cemetery District, Lucerne Area Town Hall Lath, Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council, and I believe we also have the, what does that stand for? Community
Visioning Forum
Visioning.
Planning Committee.
Thank you for saying that for me. And so any questions, comments about the applicants? And I believe that there are more applicants than there are positions for the Community Visioning Forum. Wondering if Supervisor Scott or Supervisor Crandall have comments on that.
No, I do, but I do notice that there's, I think it was Benai Cromwell is not listed on the applicants. I know he turned one in as well.
Was that received in time?
I think so, because we discussed.
Yes, it was, and you're right, it's not on, but yes, he was received. I'm not sure how he got left off. We double-checked them, so. Staff met recently with Supervisor Crandall and Supervisor Scott about the fact that we had more applicants than we have slots, and kind of talk through which appointments to make. I'd be happy to present that if Supervisor Scott and Crandall want me to. Would you like me to?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the two cities have made their appointments, just as an FYI. So as you recall, there were 2 Board of Supervisors appointees, 1 from each city, 2 tribal representatives, 1 law enforcement, 1 general, and then 4 general membership. And so the 2 cities have made their appointments. For the city of Lakeport, it will be Council Member Maria Turner, And for the city of Clear Lake, it will be Dirk Slutin. For the tribal government reps, the meeting that we had led to the conclusion that the applicants Sally Peterson and Benai Cromwell would be appointed. The law enforcement rep is still in the process of being determined, and I don't know if Supervisor Crandall has more to say about that.
Not as of yet. I
Still
sent out
in
an
process.
email. Yeah.
And then the general members recommended were Johann Sakato, Angela Cuellar, Dolores Farrell, and Sue Williams. And in considering these folks and coming up with these recommendations, the committee was looking to have the best cross-section possible, not only in terms of where people live in the county, but which groups they represent.
I appreciate the logic and reasoning with your selection, especially of the public members. I'm definitely, I was hoping that you would have already placed Dolores Farrell on the list. I know I've worked with her in the past. This seems to be one of her passions. Community work is what she does. And so I'm glad I don't have to fight for that.
So it's unfortunate that Benai Cromwell wasn't included on the agenda. He was definitely one of the applicants we reviewed. And so Anita, I'm looking at you. If we do a share screen of his application, can the board approve him today, or should that wait?
Did the board have his application in their packet at the,
Yes.
today? So it's part of what's in the agenda
No,
packet?
it's not attached to the agenda today, but we had it when we were reviewing them a
If
week
the
or so
board
ago.
members all feel that they can review it sufficiently today and the public has a chance to comment, then it should be fine.
So I could ask Johanna to do a share screen and show us the application for Benai Cromwell. Would you be able to do that, Johanna?
I use my cell phone for Zoom,
Okay.
so I don't have that.
And so are you able to email it to me so I can share it?
I can try finding it. Do you know if it was received Adobe Sign or by mail?
I don't. So
How about we move on with the other items on the list of applications
Yeah,
while you
I
work
can
with
get
Joanna
somebody-
to get that?
I can get somebody to send it to me.
Okay.
You bet.
So let's go ahead and move on first. I know we have the area-wide planning. We have one applicant for that position. Is there any comments about the applicant? Seeing none, let's open it up to the public. Any comments about the applicant for the area-wide planning? And the applicant being Sally Peterson. Okay, seeing none, let's bring it back to the board for action for that specific board appointment.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Sally Peterson to the area-wide planning.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have you multitasking here, sorry. Then we are looking at the East Region 3 Town Hall. We have one applicant. Any conversation, questions, or comments about the applicant? Okay, seeing none, let's open it up for the public. Any comments or questions about the applicant, Anthony Morris? All right, let's bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Anthony Morris to the East Region Town Hall.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Johanna, roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Kelseyville Cemetery. We have two applications, and maybe I should open and see. I believe there's enough openings to,
There's one vacancy.
no, there's only one vacancy for this one. So we have two applicants and looking to find out specifically from the district supervisor what their preference might be, and then further conversation from the board.
Well, isn't one a resignation?
Oh, that's right, I saw that. I just didn't catch it this time around. Well, if that's the case, any comments or questions about the applicant or the resignation? Hearing none, let's go ahead and open it up for the public. Any comments on the applicant, Dennis Amendola? And seeing no hands, let's bring it back for approval of the appointment.
Mr. Chair, I request that Anthony Morris, I'm sorry, wrong, Dennis Amendola be appointed to the Kelseyville Cemetery Board.
Second.
Anthony didn't know what he just signed up for. We have a motion from Supervisor Pyska.
Second.
Second?
And a second from Supervisor Crandall. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye?
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye. And
Thank
just
you.
a quick question for a process. Ms. Grant, do we need to approve the letter of resignation, or is that just for notification and for the presentation?
Yes, these people are generally volunteers, so you can't really do anything.
Can't deny their resignation. Well, thank you for your service. Let's move on to the LAF. I believe this one also has a limited number of positions available. We have 3 applications. Any comments from the board or questions from the board on this?
I'll just comment real quickly. We had this position filled, however, Mr. Peterson lives in a different district, and so it was brought to our attention that he did, and I had seen in his, Andrew Peterson is his name, he used a P.O. box in Lucerne, so I just going over it, appointed him and realized, oh, he has to live in the community growth boundary. So these other 3 folks live in the community growth boundary, and we'll be choosing out of the 3 of them, so.
Okay. Would you like to suggest which one you will be approving for the...
I'll wait for public comment first.
Okay, let's go ahead and get public comment on the item. We have Rebecca Schwanger, we have Kurt McKelvey, and Jenny Halvorson. Hopefully I pronounced those names correctly. And again, opening up for public comment. And hearing none, let's bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Rebecca Schwanger to the Lucerne Area Town Hall.
Second?
Motion by Supervisor Crandall, second by Supervisor Simon. Roll call, please. Johanna.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye?
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then the second to last one, before we go back to the first, the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council. There are 3 vacancies, and we have 4 applicants. Any comments or questions from the board? Supervisor
I would
Scott?
like to recommend Paula Monet and Carol Ward because they're already sitting members of this committee and have done an amazing job for me. And then also would like to recommend Greg Scott, which is no relation, to sit on the committee with us.
And also no relation to Scotts Valley. Okay, those are your suggestions. Any comments or questions from the supervisors? Let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Any comments from the public on these 3 appointments? And let's bring it back to the board for action.
I move to approve Paula Monet, Greg Scott, and Carol Ward to sit on the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council.
Second?
All right, motion from Supervisor Scott, second from Supervisor Simon. Roll call, please, Johanna.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye?
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Hopefully this gave you enough time, Ms. Hutchinson, to be able to share that application with us.
I've not been able to put my hands on it. The staff person that would have it is not feeling well today, and so, but we had it the other day. We definitely did. Oh, wait, he's just answering here. Okay, we're getting it in just a minute. If you want to do your calendars, we can come back to it. So
I think we can find
he's sick,
something
but
else
still
to do.
responding.
I'm sure we can find something to do. Let me go back to the agenda here. Supervisor Scott, I believe that you were asking to pull item 5.11 to recuse yourself. Is this correct?
Yes, please, because my husband works for L3 Harris.
Okay, so if you, Jake, can we put her in a separate room? That way we don't just kick her out and then we can bring her back?
Yes, I will open up a breakout room. Actually, we don't have that on the webinar.
Oh, I guess we have to say bye to Supervisor Scott, and we'll text you and let you know when you can come back in.
Sorry, I'm trying to chase that document.
All right, so let's go ahead and take up item 5.11, approve the purchase of communications equipment to be installed at various repeater sites in the amount of $21,502.52. Sorry, $21,502.52. That seemed a very huge amount all of a sudden. And B, authorize the sheriff or his designee to issue purchase orders to Daniels Electronics and L3 Harris. Any comments or questions? I don't know if we have, I see that we have Gavin Wells still with us today. Are you able to speak on this item?
Yes, sir, I can. If you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. There was definitely enough detail within the memo. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Grant.
Given the nature of Supervisor Scott's recusal, I'm just inquiring whether there's any Government Code 1090 issue present here.
Can you be more
Certainly.
specific?
The 1090 precludes your board from entering into a contract that provides a financial benefit to one of your members. Now, it may be that as an employee, that's just an incidental benefit, in which case 1090 wouldn't be implicated. But it is an inquiry your board should consider.
Well, since I can't answer that question, and I'm going to guess, and I'm going to look around that none of us know the true answer to that question, we would have to discuss that with Ms. Scott, I'm taking, Supervisor Scott, in order to really understand that. So does that mean that we push this to a further agenda item, agenda, in order to understand exactly what might be the repercussions?
If the Sheriff's Department doesn't have any dire urgency, that would be my recommendation, yes, sir.
Okay. And Gavin Wells, I'm sorry, I never remember your specific position. Is it lieutenant or sergeant?
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. I want to make sure and say that correctly. Lieutenant Wells, is this a necessary signature that is required today, or can it wait for next week's consent agenda?
We can push it till next week.
Okay. Okay.
There is a need to upgrade the communications equipment.
Okay. I appreciate that very much, and I think that is probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
Looking around for other board members. Okay. And so, Ms. Grant, will you be having that discussion yourself with...
I'm happy to do so, sir.
Please. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate your time. Sorry to make you wait just to have it moved till next week.
Not a problem.
Okay, and let's go ahead and...
It was item 5.2, right?
And let's go ahead and open 5.2. I'm just going to text Supervisor Scott real quick. Come back. And 5.2, I know this is up. There's Director Metcalf. He is ready for us.
Are you ready for me?
We will be in a second. I want to give Supervisor Scott the chance to chime back in. I know this is just a clarification, but always best when we have the full team here with us. Okay, looks like Supervisor Scott is back with us. So now we're going to take up item 5.2. A, waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2 as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services. And B, approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Lake County Office of Education, Safe Schools, Healthy Students Program for school-based specialty mental health services for fiscal year 2021-22 for a contract maximum of $100,000 even, and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. Director Metcalf, we spoke about just the need for a clarification. I think your memo was pretty specific about what the actual purpose of the request is. If you could just provide some clarification, please.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Todd Metcalf. I'm the Director of Lake County Behavioral Health Services. I just wanted to provide a little clarity around the actual memorandum that went to the Board of Supervisors around this particular item. There was a discrepancy in the memo that called out that the contract was for services to be provided at Highlands Academy, and that's incorrect. The memo should have stated that services are going to be provided for Hance Community School in Lakeport and Clear Lake Creativity School in the city of Clear Lake. So the contract is correct. There was just an oversight in the memo that called out a different organization. So I'm hoping that if this can be edited and hopefully approved today, that we don't have to put this off to a future meeting.
And I don't believe anything needs to be edited. I just wanted to make sure and be clear with what was made public, as there was some confusion on there. So I appreciate your clarification.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for finding it.
Looking for comments or questions from the board for Director Metcalf? Seeing none, let's open it to the public for item 5.2. All right, and let's bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods and services. And can I keep going, or this needs to be in two motions?
Please.
And to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and Lake County Office of Education, Safe Schools, Healthy Students programs for school-based medical, especially mental health services for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 for contract maximum of $100,000, and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Scott, second by Supervisor Simon. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon?
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall?
Yes.
Supervisor Scott?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye. Thank you, Director Metcalf.
Thank you.
All right, are we ready for item 7.4 to come back?
We
Okay.
are. Thank you for your patience with me. And so what we have from Benai Cromwell, it was an email, if you recall, supervisors on the committee. And so I'm going to do a share screen of his email. And so there you have it. He's currently the chairman of Robinson Rancheria. Prior was in social work in the community. Educational background is sociology, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Any comments and questions on the selection of the Community Visioning Forum currently?
I guess the only comment or question I'd have, I guess, would be for Anita. Obviously, I want to support everybody that wants to be on the board and the selections that they made, but will we run into anything being that an application wasn't filled out? Just a question.
Well, sir, it's as if you're reading my mind. I was just looking at the information contained in the application to make sure that the same information is provided in the email, because it really should be.
The application.
And if it's not, your board can make partial appointments or put it over just a week and put it on the consent agenda to ensure that the application is on file, if it's just a procedural issue. But there are certain things that on the application that don't appear to be present in the email information. So Supervisor Simon's point is very well taken.
And the item will have to come back anyway, because we're still working on getting a law enforcement representative, so maybe one more week is best on all of them.
Okay.
Because,
We
my comments are
apologize
to
for the
support the
confusion.
decision of the board as we're filling it. I just want to make sure we're meeting all those requirements.
No, I appreciate your comment to make sure that what we're doing is above board for everybody, and everybody's being requested to do the same thing. So I'm comfortable with either moving forward with a partial selection and waiting for the consent agenda to approve the others, or waiting for all. That is up to the board.
Good either way.
I'm good either way.
Okay, so let's just make this come back when we have our full list, and we'll see when that is. Okay, so we will go ahead and push that forward to a future agenda. I believe that everything is done except for our calendars. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Supervisor Simon.
Okay, just like the report last week, we always talk a little bit about, so we had our Risk Reduction Authority special meeting yesterday, talking about expanding our board members. I think it went positive. Obviously, we had to get some information out to everybody, but we did have the two cities. We had some tribal nations that showed up, and the one we did not have is someone from the water districts, but I think Jessica's already made some contact with some folks, and I think we're going to be able to fill those seats here sooner than later. So I felt like it was a good conversation and a step in the right direction for the Risk Reduction Authority and an expansion process that we're looking to do this year. And obviously, we had a conversation about PSPS this afternoon, the drought, all those things are coming up. I think the Risk Reduction Authority is going to become the major player, I think, that we all would like to see it here in the county, but in collaboration with all the city, tribal governments, and our nonprofit agencies that we're currently working with to help us just be a safer, fire-wise county. So just want to report on that. After today's meeting, did have a potential meeting scheduled with CAO, but I think we'll probably have that later this afternoon or tomorrow on a general discussion about AVA. And then tomorrow morning have the Lake Area Planning Council and LTA board meeting in the morning. And in the afternoon, have the Space Use Committee. On Thursday, have a couple things on Thursday. There is the Lake County Behavioral Health Services Annual Community Planning Meeting. That is in the morning. Then in the afternoon, there is an update for Invitation Mental Health Advisory Board, but I also have the Disaster Council, which will be Thursday at 3 p.m. That'll be chairing that with Supervisor Paiska, and then the BOS governments on Friday. And then again, our regular meeting, Risk Reduction Authority, Monday afternoon, and then in the morning, meeting with Carol Hutchinson, CAO. I don't think I missed anything. We'll see.
Thank you very much. And let's move on to Supervisor Crandall.
All right, so actually yesterday I went to the Huffman Potter Valley Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and it was a brief update about their push to, of course, work on that project to eventually, they would like to eventually take down Scott Dam. However, we were really, I was really surprised by the push by our friends of the Eel, who want to see a study done on possibly Van Arsdale being implemented in the studies to have them considered to be, that dam be considered to be removed rather as well. And I couldn't agree more, except for just leave Scott Dam alone. But that's just my opinion, and I accentuated that. Let's see, last week, what else did I, just regular meetings, but today, agenda review following this. Tomorrow I have a home key, the project in Lucerne. The gentleman, Mr. Dees, wants to show me the project, and I agreed as long as he comes to the town hall meeting on Friday, so I'll be going to that tomorrow. Space Use Committee in the evening, or 4:30 I think we have, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Thursday, cloud meeting, Clear Lake Oaks Water District. There's a discussion. Apparently, unfortunately, the situation where some folks passed in a fire in Clear Lake Oaks, and so we're discussing water issues and when it comes to fire hydrants. And so Chief Ciancio and the district invited me to come to that meeting, so we'll be discussing that. Friday, of course, our board governance meeting, that we're having at 9 a.m. And then, of course, in the evening, Lucerne Area Town Hall. And then Monday, a meeting with CAO Hutchinson, and back here Tuesday.
Thank you very much. And Supervisor Scott.
Tomorrow I have a webinar from 9:30 to 11:30 and the meeting with constituents in the afternoon. On Thursday, I have executive COC meeting in the morning from 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11:30, I will be at the mental health, our behavioral health community planning meeting. And then at noon, I'll be at the law library meeting. At 1 o'clock, I'll be at the audit committee meeting. And then from 3 to 5, I will be at the behavioral health board. And then at 5 o'clock, I'm heading to the school where they will be having a celebration of life for Mr. Dominguez. He's a teacher that we lost last year. On Friday at the governing board meeting. And then Monday, 10 a.m., I have the Smart Start Bright Future partner meeting, and then preparing for Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Pyska?
Yeah, so I just want to echo what Supervisor Simon said about the risk reduction meeting yesterday. It's really exciting to have so many new partners want to be involved and see the need and see that we're going to be moving together as a strong coalition all across our county and all across our communities. So that was very exciting. And the other thing that I've been working on is the Fire Safe Council and kind of figuring out how that group is going to move forward. Currently, it is a ad hoc committee under the Board of Supervisors, which it has been for well over a decade. And that's not really how it should be functioning. So I had asked the group last month if they were interested in looking at ways to reform as a 501(c) that would support the Risk Reduction Authority. And again, building these coalitions and the collaboration across different organizations. So the group of volunteers that regularly attend that meeting was very interested in doing that and is starting a working group to move that process along. There was a lot of discussion about the pros and cons of a 501, and I think that's the way that we're going to be moving forward. So this is going to be a way that the Fire Safe Council can receive funding. It will likely still have some kind of connection with the RCD, but we're going to be looking at having members all over the county with a lot of community involvement and community programs. So it's exciting to see all of this kind of develop and the foundations being laid. So that was last week. Tomorrow, I am having conversations. There's been some opportunities with putting together the co-ed director role, which I have spoken to you all about before, and I will be again. And so I'm excited about some developments that have been coming with that. So I'm going to be having discussions with 2 of the co-ed members tomorrow morning. As I mentioned earlier this morning, I'm getting my vaccine at Redbud Park, and I have a meeting with Deputy Director Takara, and Cavern check-in I have at 6:30, and I may be going to the Cobb Area Water Board meeting to talk to that board about joining the Risk Reduction Authority. And let's see, Thursday, I may be able to attend part of the LCBHS annual meeting. We have our first ever Ag Committee meeting at 11, and then I have Disaster Council, and then I have the Cobb Area Council in the evening. Friday, we have the Governance Board meeting, and I don't really have anything that afternoon. Monday, I have my meeting with Carol. We have risk reduction. I have that on here 3 times. So that's what I've got.
Jessica, I didn't have the ag meeting. When is that?
That is going to be Thursday at 11.
Okay, could you send me the Zoom link? Thank you.
And it looks like Jessica has 3 risk reduction meetings all at the same time. All right, thank you very much. And for me, it seems that the days are passing by really, really fast, and there's just a lot of different projects that I've been working on. So not much to report on other than nose to the grindstone in the past week. Tomorrow, as Supervisor Simon mentioned, We have our Lake APC meeting. In fact, I am going to be a little bit late to that meeting. I have a very important meeting I can't skip with BLM and CAL FIRE about the vegetation clearing that will be happening behind the city of Clear Lake. And as I mentioned last time in my report, that they might even be able to do the work as well around Mount Konocti. So it went from possibly not happening to two things happening, and just want to make sure that we keep pushing it in that direction. So hopefully I'll be done within less than 30 minutes. I think it should be a pretty simple, quick, just update type of meeting, and then we move on. I am also getting my vaccine. It seems I'm not getting the Johnson & Johnson, but I will be getting either Pfizer or Moderna, so I'll be getting that in the afternoon. And then the following day, will be part of the Lake County Behavioral Health Services meeting and have a CSAC call later, and then going to the Clear Lake City Council meeting, who is now, same as us, allowing the public to meet in their chambers as well. And then our workshop on Friday, and working throughout that to make sure that I continue on my projects and also bring back the second reading of what was approved today. On Monday, looks like the only thing I have so far is a CSAC call and a meeting with our CAO to prepare for our meeting on Tuesday, which again, just to make sure everybody's aware that we are believing to have a very long day that day. So pack a lunch or dinner or both. And so I did, before we finish our reports, and I know it's not par for the course for us, but I was going to ask our CAO Hutchinson if she can provide an update. She went to what I feel is an important meeting for a discussion that we're having. There was an equity workshop that I believe CSAC was putting together. I was supposed to go to that, but I was very fortunate and lucky. I was invited by the Tuolomi group to do a flight over a national monument, and I've never seen Lake County from that perspective. I already really enjoy the scenery we have, but seeing it from that perspective was just amazing. But please, Ms. Hutchinson, if you can provide some information that was received and what your experience was with that equity workshop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so just for the public, I'll say what CSAC is. It's the Association of Counties. All 58 counties are a part of CSAC. It's primarily to support supervisors that are, working on their efforts to do their jobs as staff as well. And so it just so happened that last Thursday they had a equity forum planned in Zoom. And because I'm working with our two supervisors that are part of the committee that's going to plan for the Community Visioning Forum on tolerance, diversity, equity, et cetera, I thought it would be perfect opportunity to attend. Matthew Rostein is also working with us in that effort. He was able to attend, and so was Supervisor Crandall. I'm not sure, I couldn't see everybody in there all the time. Did you have the opportunity to attend, Supervisor Scott?
I did not.
Well, it was really excellent. It started off with some presenters that really, kind of opened our eyes to things that I think we don't see, despite all good intentions. And so I found that very inspiring. It also illustrated that there are a lot of great resources out there to help us with as we begin our work on these issues. A number of counties also talked about their experiences and what they're doing so far. Some of the county supervisors shared that that they're making all their steps forward and attempting to address equity and diversity issues in their counties, but admitted that it's not easy, it's not smooth, these discussions are challenging and difficult, and basically the information given was to expect that. These are tough conversations that we need to have. Some counties talked about having already set up staff that are focused on equity issues. And so some of the larger counties in particular either had an equity officer who had a full-time job working on this topic, or in some cases even an equity office that was dedicated. One of the points I heard made is that if you really want to focus on this topic, you need staff who are dedicated to it full-time, rather than assuming you can just add this to an existing staff person's already full-time job. So it was really inspiring. I think what I intended to do with it, and I imagine you're thinking the same, Supervisor Kendall, is that we take some of those resources into our planning meetings and perhaps call on some of the folks that shared during those meetings to help us out, help us get started. It was very good.
Do you have anything to add, Supervisor Kendall?
Yes, actually, I spaced it when I went over my calendar because I was going to last week, and then I was going to mention that I did attend that as well, and that I was really excited to hear the different folks speaking, the different speakers. But I also was really inspired also by Supervisor James Gore, his statement in the beginning, and then also mentioning how he said, I think, how did he put it? It was very difficult. But it's.
He said it was messy.
Yeah, it was messy, and it's going to be, and that's but we have to have these conversations. He says what happens is sometimes people that aren't heard, they want to be heard, and that's what makes it unsettling at first. And if they still aren't heard, then they'll roar. Just a bunch of different comments about that, but eventually, the whole ideal is to get to a point where everybody feels heard, respected, and that was a lot of what other folks had said as well in their experience with it. So it was very informative and helpful while we get ready to prepare for our planning session, and then eventually having some sort of discussions about policies in that aspect. So.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that update. I thought it was important since that's one of our projects that we're working on. So I wanted to kind of get a feel of how that went and have all supervisors be aware of that experience. Thank you very much. So I think that completes our agenda for the public portion. We are going to go into closed session. We have 3 items. 8.1, Public Employee Evaluation, title, Public Works, Water Resources, Community Development Director. 8.2, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Fleisch versus County of Lake, et al. 8.3, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, the Coles versus County of Lake, et al. I always feel like I say that incorrectly. Et al. Sorry.
And Mr. Chair, for your information, the staff will be closing out this Zoom, and we will do closed session in a new Zoom room.
Perfect. That sounds good to me. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we will see you next week on April 20th at 9 a.m.